Oh, man. It's easy to get angry, isn't it? Get all fired up on your perspective and how it's right.
It is. We got a lot of rage going on here in the U.S. Seems to be the M.O. Everybody's just angry about everything.
That's not true. I'm not angry about everything.
There are times and there are moments of great joy, and we want to focus in on that. So how can we lessen the rage and bring a little bit more joy into our lives?
Mama says namaste. Mama says namaste.
Making a family can be easy and fun.
Oh, yeah, but raising a family can be a whole different story.
From spouses to kids to the crazy daily grind, life often directs us away from connection and more into reactive chaos.
If you're tired of that cycle and are seeking something beyond the picket fence blues, this is the show for you.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Nathan.
And we're here to take you from chaos to clarity by bringing awareness and intention into your home, not waiting for one day, and highlighting how
the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us.
Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama says namaste.
So as we were coming up with different podcast topics, Nathan had a little saying that he said, and I stopped him and I said, "That's really good. I like that."
Did you make that up yourself?
And he said, yes.
I think so.
All right. So you want to share? What was it that you said? Now I'm going to put you on the spot.
I don't remember. No. I said that I was thinking about the word rage. And I was thinking about the word grace and how they all have the same letters in them except for the letter C. And seeing is usually the biggest difference between the two words and
That's
the two
so
feelings.
True.
And there's just a little, country observation.
Grace is just rage when you can see through it. Ooh.
Oh, that sounds way better.
Yeah, man, just think about that. Grace is when you see through the rage. And I want to share a story. I've shared this before. It's from Marshall Goldsmith's book, Triggers. It says, Buddhist legend tells of a young farmer who's covered with sweat as he paddles up the river. He was going upstream to deliver his produce to the village. He was in a hurry. It was a hot day, and he wanted to make his delivery and get home before dark. As he looked ahead, he spied another vessel heading rapidly downstream toward his boat. This vessel seemed to be making every effort to hit him. He rowed furiously to get out of the way, but it didn't seem to help. He yelled at the other vessel, "Change direction, you idiot! You're going to hit me! The river is wide! Be careful!" His screaming was to no avail. The other vessel hit his boat with a sickening thud. He was enraged as he stood up and cried out to the other vessel, "You moron! How could you manage to hit my boat in the middle of this wide river? What's wrong with you?" As he looked at the other vessel, he realized there was no one in the other boat. He was screaming at an empty vessel that had broken free of its moorings and was going downstream with the current. The lesson is simple. There is never anyone in the other boat. When we are angry, we are screaming at an empty vessel.
When I heard that story at first, I was like, there's somebody in that other vessel. That car that cut me off, that was another person in there.
Exactly. There's legitimate people that are just being jerks, right?
Well, there are. And, I think the biggest difference between rage and grace is how you respond to them, to those moments. I mean, we can respond with, how could you? Or, you could also respond with, oh, how could you do that? Until I can see how you can do that. And just have a little more grace and understanding for the situation. I mean, we do it for our kids when they're learning and bumping their heads into things and running into stuff. You're like, let's give you a little grace. Let me hold your hand there. Instead of getting mad at them and yelling at them for not being able to walk.
I kind of have the perspective of, the empty vessel being the emptiness that usually is a part of rage. Mm-hmm. Because when I think of someone who's raging at someone else, and I think about, the waitress that has a bad attitude waiting on her table, the guy with the road rage that's yelling at somebody else in the cars, oftentimes there's more to the story. Oftentimes they're lost in anger in a lot of things. They may be feeling like a victim in their lives. They may have had a horrible fight with somebody else that had nothing to do with you, or some loss or some other struggle in their lives.
You're just another layer of their anger cake.
Well, and they may be empty in their response to you other than the rage. So, I think looking at it kind of as an empty vessel is more the way I've kind of looked at it as, I don't know what else their story is. That's a whole other boat. And I can't dictate everything about that. I can't determine if somebody's on the boat or even off the boat, but I can move mine, and I can direct my boat and create my path different.
Well, and I remember being really angry, and it's easy to be really angry. And it's, a lot of times our friendships and our relationships are kind of centered around anger and whodunit. Mm-hmm. I've been riding with a group of guys, and there's, a group of probably anywhere from 8 to 12 that will come in and out. And it's interesting to see what each one talks about and what their life is like. And, some of them are always chasing, I had to go to the CEO for this problem, and I did this. They lost my window at the docks. How do you lose a window at the docks? I'm like, well, apparently you're attracting people to lose windows at the docks because you are good at arguing with people. You're good at getting mad, and so you kind of attract that. A lot of books that I read talk about how our reality is what is a reflection of what we see in the world, and that's a hard pill to swallow, because you think, well, everybody else is the one that's doing it to me. But it's not.
If everybody else is doing the same thing, there's only one common denominator there.
Well, the only thing that you have control over is yourself. And I think that when you're raging and you're spending your time thinking about how you're going to get even or how you're going to justify yourself, and you're playing into that game, you can get kind of swept away and enjoy that. Some people, their whole life energy is kind of the way they wake up in the morning with a cup full of rage.
I think I've had some mornings like that myself.
Well, yeah. We all have mornings where we wake up and we're just, hell bent on making sure this is a bad day. And that's okay. Like, it's a lot. We're allowed to have those. But once we have one after the other, after the other, after the other, and it becomes how people know us and what they know of us, and it becomes our surroundings all the time.
It's so hard to get out of it.
I remember being in a place in life where I was so mad I was trying to fall asleep, and I was just like clenching my fists and clenching my jaw and thinking about how angry I was at my roommates, and then thinking, like, this is absolutely useless. This is pointless. This is you. I'll just leave. Mm-hmm. I have full power to leave. I'm going to leave. And I just decided to leave and dropped out of school. It was the best thing I ever did. But it moved me out of that rage, and it just allowed me to have grace for, they're just doing their thing. They're doing what they want to do. This is their college experience. It doesn't have to be mine. And I can do something about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. It's just recognizing sometimes this is so a part of me, knowing that rage most oftentimes is a great reminder for removal. If something is causing rage, I need to remove something, either a toxic relationship or my own toxicity in the moment. And so when rage comes on, typically one of those things needs to happen, and I will have to give myself a timeout, or I need to, step out of a situation that's not going to go anywhere further, that's not going to be a healthy one.
I remember parenting little ones, and we had a pull-up bar in the middle of the hallway that was our rager getter outer. Before you went and talked to that kid, you crunched out 10.
Yep. And it did. It helped to calm us down, so that when we were at the height of dealing with toddlers, I don't care how awesome and great parenting can be, there are moments that will push you to your edge, and there are moments that will that definitely can put parents in rage mode. And that, the desperation of having a colicky baby is something that, there is. Child abuse is never okay. It's never allowed. It's never a good thing. And when parents are at their wits' end, when they are at the point of absolute survival mode and they have lack of sleep and there's nothing going and the colic is relentless or anything else, I mean, those moments can happen. And I know that a lot of the prevention is you remove that. You take a break.
Yeah.
You get help. You get somebody else. And that's something that I highly advocate for, is sometimes rage is too much to handle on your own. Sometimes you do need to get some help, get some support to do a reset and to allow for that.
But Eckhart Tolle talks about in
The
Power of Now. He talks about how he's observed geese that will fight, and they have their little moment. They're screaming at each other. They're biting. They're pulling feathers out. They come to a standstill. They both flap their wings, shake their tails, and then go right back to eating muck. And and there's part of that in us. And that's why the physical aspect is so valuable in working through rage, is because if you're that pissed, stopping and doing 10 to 15 push-ups can get the energy out of you to where your mind is now, it's just kind of like you've released that element of yourself. You've expressed your anger through the push-ups. Now I'm ready to deal with this 3-year-old little tiny dictator that I created and let live for rent-free in my home and feed constantly. And that can be, but you hear the way I say it, if that's how you're seeing the world, that's what's going to show up.
Yeah.
And so that's the first trick to kind of moving from that anger space to that grace space, is recognizing that the way you see the world is a lot of times the way people will show up. And you can inspect everything you're expecting out of life.
That's right. So 3 tools for navigating your rage. Number 1 is looking at how you can remove yourself from the situation. I know there are times where I get angry and I am too combative to bring something healthy to a conversation. It's better for me to say, hey, I need to take a break. I need to I need to reset for a minute. Oftentimes for me, it's before I spew venom, I need to go outside and take my shoes off and get grounded so that I don't come so angry. So number 1, you can remove yourself. Number 2, you can redirect that energy in a positive way, like physically getting it out. Just like what you're saying, Nathan. I mean, shake it out. We've done that. Shake it all out. Shake out your anxiety. Do a crazy shaking dance and wiggle every part of your body. The kids think it's funny. It can offset and throw some laughter and fun into something and make it lighthearted. Doing push-ups, doing pull-ups. The pull-up bar was amazing. It was not only a great way for us to kind of reset before we walked in on our kiddos who were getting up for the umpteenth time that night or whatever, but it also it helped us physically and definitely upped our arm strength and body strength and everything else. So you can redirect that rage. And then the third thing is, sometimes if you've gotten it bottled up over and over again to where this has become your identity, it's become more than just a character trait. This is a part of who you are. Sometimes it takes getting extra help. It may take that you go to get therapy of some form or healing of some form. I dealt with major rage, and I dealt with it so bad at one point in my life. I felt such a heaviness that I really struggled with it. And I went to an energy healer, and the experience that I had was absolutely transformative. Does not mean that that's what everybody is going to benefit from. Do what works for you. But the point is getting help to get you back to that point of equilibrium and of peace and calm so that you know what to maintain. Sometimes if we're so far away from peace and calm, it can be hard to even find it. Right. And I know that for me, it was a simple reset. It was a one-time reset of me surrendering to somebody else and saying, I need help to let this go. Can you help me with this? And that surrender that I did, whether or not it had anything to do with the external person, the point of me taking action and surrendering triggered a release that released a ball of anger that I had carried. And so recognize there are ways that you can navigate your rage. And when you navigate your rage, it has way more grace as you start to see it for what it is. See it for what it's doing and how it's helping you or how it's not helping you.
Right. I mean, rage is not going to help you. It's always going to be a temporary, really feel-good shot of whiskey that's then going to give you a real good hangover after. But, you know, sometimes, you know, that's just a process you have to get through. And being forgiving of yourself as you're working through this is really important because you're not going to get it right all the time. You're going to, you know, these are old roads that have been dug in with muddy ruts that you did with your fingernails as you crawled through your opinions. But that's
I love your descriptive analogies.
Right? But as you're moving into that space of grace, you know, I think what made me think about this idea was I was listening to something that was talking about just how refreshing and how different it is to live in a world where you can approach challenges with a level of grace rather than resistance, with a level of flow, or how can we make what is possible rather than this is impossible. Look what you've done. I mean, it just flips the conversation. It flips the script so that you can uncover and a lot of times bypass a lot of that energetic rage, even if it's coming from somebody else. You know, they might fire a shot, and if you do something totally unexpected, oh, hey, good to see you too. I've been thinking about you. How can we fix this problem for you? And, oh, wow, you've been thinking about me. That's totally different. And, it's my problem. Yes, I do have a problem. You've been, you know, your dog's been pooping on my lawn. Oh, I'm sorry. I understand. I did not have a bag the last time I was walking through. I so apologize for that. I'll try to do a better job. Well, that's totally, you know, that redirects that opportunity for rage rather than saying, yeah, well, I can't control my dog when it goes to the bathroom.
Anytime you hear can't,
you're right,
won't, never,
and
always.
I redirected.
Those words are combative.
Yes.
Oftentimes.
And I redirect the you know, the control of the situation to an animal that doesn't speak the language and have any control. They're on a leash under my control.
Right.
But, you know, that's how you can adjust and kind of move into that space of grace. And you know, I read an interesting book called Ragamuffin Gospels a couple years ago, and it talked about just the grace that's in the Bible and how, you know, sometimes we feel like we have gotten so far down this road, or the anger has just become such a part of who we are that we don't know how to get out of it. But it's really as easy as just dropping and trying on a new set of clothes, just a new perspective and a new, I'll try it this way for today. It only has to be for a day. But that's how you start shifting your perspective. As you try it for a full day, and you start to see the responses that you get from the loved ones around you, your coworkers, and they're suddenly not engaged by that energy of rage. They're rather something of grace and solution driven. It changes the energy. It changes everything. It's slow, but it changes.
It's so beautiful. So let's go back to that one missing letter. It's C. So that's our challenge for you this week is, what do you see in your life this week that maybe is more rage focused versus grace focused? Or can you add more of that seeing and understanding, just addressing? Because if you aren't aware of it, you can't change it. So you got to bring that awareness and truly see yourself for what you are. First and foremost, are you a rage machine? Are you combative and reactive? Are you using the words can't, never, always, should in your conversations? Are you on the defensive when you're speaking with people? Look for how rage is showing up in your life. And then look for ways to redirect it. Are you going to remove yourself from the situation? Are you going to redirect it into something positive, maybe working out or cleaning the house? I know we've used both of those very successfully.
Absolutely.
Or are you going to seek the support that you need? Tag team with your partner when you're overcome with anger. Go and see a therapist, a healer, whatever it takes for you to let go of the stronghold rage might have on you or how it's become your identity. Letting go of that and allowing for more grace brings more joy, more light, more fun and compassion in your life. And it's much easier then to celebrate. How?
The uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us.
Namaste.
2, 3. Up with the rising sun, already on the run. Mama says namaste. Life is a tangled mess, and you don't have to stress. Mama says namaste. 'Cause today I will stand up and be all the change that I want to see in this world. Boys and girls, you gotta have to stand up to be free. Namaste in your home. Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama says namaste.